So guys, I think we'll wait like 2 more minutes and we'll begin. But absolutely no reason to waste the time. So, I've actually taken the liberty to prepare a little game. So, may I have a volunteer? It's perfectly safe. Actually, the volunteer has the best of them all. A very smart move. May I know your name? Alex. Please, come here. So now, Alex, you will be choosing a person, and you will be choosing, and the person will be choosing the category. So, feel free to pick. I told you guys, volunteer has it best. So, the lady in green. Please choose the category. Performance. Okay, 400, 200, 300, or 400? 100. A safe choice. Nevertheless, it's not wrong. So, could you please name 3 GAPs that actually deal with performance? Any idea comes to mind? Guys, anybody can help? Strings, what about them? Okay, nice, that's one. So let's see what we have. JDK 101, JDK performance, timeline, jigsaw, feeling lucky. 4 from left, so jigsaw. Yeah. Which card? The lower is safer. 100. Kind of figured that one. So what's jigsaw JEP number? 201. All right, next person, please.
Guy in red sweater.
Performance 200. We're ascending. So right now, strings are actually encoded as a UTF-16 character array. And how will it be in JDK 9? B. All right, that was a close call, but with encoded flag. You see, with UTF characters, we're actually using 2 bytes per character. So we have like 1 character string, that's 2 bytes. With new encoding, in some cases, that will only be 1 byte, including the encoded flag field, okay? The case when it will not be actually only 1 byte is when we're using special characters, anything that deals with Unicode, Greek letters, Cyrillic letters, Japanese characters, Chinese characters. Then we're still going back to worse encoding, so the encoded flag field will not work. All right, next person.
That guy in black with yellow.
Oh yeah, I see the blouse. It's really cool. Yeah, so yes, you, sir.
Let's be feeling lucky 100.
Feeling lucky 100. Interesting choice. What does jigsaw mean? Any other word for it?
No.
It's actually a puzzle. All right, next person. Ah, no, this is my favorite. Quite related to the topic at hand. Can you actually tell the color of the Olympic rings? Anybody in the room? Red, green, yellow, blue, and black. Fairly nice. All right, next person.
You.
Me?
Yep.
GDK 9 timeline 300.
300, was it?
GDK 9 timeline.
Sorry, I lost the cursor. Come on, here. This one?
No. Set column.
Timeline, sorry.
Yes.
And you said 300.
Yes.
Good one. So if JDK9 was feature complete, when exactly? The hint, Geekon Krakow happens within that month. So you probably know that this is this year, because this is the year when actually JDK9 was decided to be feature complete. Now the question is, which month?
October, maybe. October.
October. Well, that's the date for Geekon Prague. Actually, Geekon Krakow is May. Nevertheless, I like you for picking October. All right.
The lady with blonde hair.
The lady with blonde hair. That would be you. Please select your card. Jigsaw 200. Let's see. Tool available with JDK9 lets you use smart Java completion. This is actually a variant of Java compiler, so Java's tool, called sjavads for smart Javads. So in JDK9 you will have actually two tools to compile your code. One will use smart compilation, the other will use the normal compilation. To be honest, sjavac will be just a wrapper around the javac with additional features.
Next, you.
Feeling lucky 400. Oh, you picked. Nice one. Where did Duke come from? Any idea? Sorry? From the Oak project. Cool. Truly cool. I actually didn't know that. I learned that only when I was preparing this presentation. I was thinking about really tricky question for this one, and where did the Duke come from came actually quite naturally to me. So early days of Oak project, they actually needed a mascot for their system, and they came up with Duke. So the guy who came up with Duke, Joe Palrank, is actually one of the animators behind Shrek, for example.
Next one.
Sure.
Guy who gave answer to last question.
Every good deed must be punished. Timeline 400, let's go. This is the most tricky question I could come up. Name 3 important future dates for JDK9. Any help from the room? Excellent, that's one of the most important dates, yes. Actually, mid-December was quite cool. That's the date I haven't included here, but it is there nevertheless. So 0 bug bounce, meaning we're ending everything with bugs. Then 26th January, which is the date I remember very well because my official career began on the same day. So this is the release candidate, and end of March, as you said, is general availability. The mid-December date is the second ramp-up. So the second ramp-up is actually where we almost completely stop fixing bugs for JDK9. So as you can see from the timeline, JDK9 is approaching quite fast. All right, next person, please.
Guy with laptop. Right, you.
Feeling lucky 300. A lot of people here feels lucky. So the smallest and largest JEP numbers, and what are they about? When it comes, of course, to JDK9. Let me tell you that one is right above 100. That will be a hint. So 102 is actually improvement to the process API, and 292 is actually about Nashorn improvements, meaning actually adding ECMAScript 6 to it. All right.
Guy with MacBook.
Guy with MacBook. Yes, you, sir. So please pick your card. Excellent. So there are JEPs that made it, and there are JEPs that didn't. Please select the JEPs that did not make it into JDK 9 and were actually officially set as. I see that at least one person wants to take this question, so do you want to allow?
I think it's C.
You think it's C, the person with the hand up? A and B. Well, actually, if we take both of your answers, that's the correct answer. All of them. Next person, please.
You're on the left.
JDK 9, 101, 100. I've seen your hand. We'll go back to you in a minute, okay? So, while theme of JDK 9 is Jigsaw, name other important changes. Improved process API, milling project coin, HTTP to client, all of the above. Should. A and C. Again, all of the above. Your luck seems to be not with this answer. So you were having question to the previous one.
As far as I remember,
JSON was actually rejected, but it was nominated, it was accepted for quite a long time, so I can quite see why you were puzzled. All right.
next one. A guy with beard in green sweater. Yep, that's good.
I think it's you.
Let's go with Jigsaw.
All right. Let's go with it then. What steps one needs to do in order to make use of modules, so to make modules work? So we're writing a modular code, what we need to do. It's okay not to know. Any help from the room? Module info file, that's one. So, you need module info, and you need dependencies there. You need module path. So instead of using class path in Javadoc, you will be using module path. Same with Java, naturally. And then service loader to load that. 300 is the only one left. What's milling project coin about? Isn't it JDK 7?
Yes or no?
Unfortunately, no. But I'll make a yes or no question next time. Any help? So the key to this question is actually in the project coin. So if you perhaps ever heard of it, Sun at the late, just before it died or actually was acquired, Sun released JDK 7. In JDK 7, as you perhaps recall, there were really not many changes to the language. Really not many. So in a bout of sarcasm, they actually named it Project Coin, Project Moneta. So in JDK 9, pretty much any significant change from the Project Coin was revamped. And so in Project Coin, we were allowed to use underscores in variable identifiers. So we could actually even use them in literals, okay? So for example, if you had a long number, you could use literal to actually format it somehow. Now, if you only want to use underscore in JDK 9, that's not allowed. You need to have something else. Previously, it was allowed. Save varargs is now allowed on private instance methods. You can have private methods in interfaces, and if you have an effectively final variable, you can use it in try with resources. Previously, you had to create it for try with resources. You had to use new each single time. Now you no longer need it. And finally, the diamond operator is allowed in the code like that, okay? So in this place, we no longer need to specify T because compiler will now actually figure it out from this part, okay? So we're specifying here the return type, and thus it works. All right, next one. Oh, I like her. Sorry about that. Let me kill it. And how it matters if Java tells CPU about spin wait loop. So let me first address what is a spin wait loop. If you're holding CPU, doing some meaningless work, aka spinning, instead of releasing it, while you wait for something, then you're doing a spin wait loop. So how it matters if Java actually tells CPU, hey, these operations you're doing now are actually a spin wait loop. Why? What's the bonus? So the bonus is actually quite significant. So over here, the lowest line is time it took to actually measure the time with system nanotime. Okay? Over here, you have an improved Java code with this instruction. So over here, the blue line, Java told CPU that, yeah, I'm doing a spin wait loop. And over here, it didn't. So in number of cases, you will actually have instructions that allow you to do something even when you do a spin wait loop or speed up things. And this hint is something that people who are working in low-level latency wanted since, like, I think, JDK 5. All right.
Let's go with
300 with, which one? Jigsaw. Excellent. Does JDK give some tools for modules? Excellent. And the tools are, we have a linker, which is new. Java now has list mods, which will list you internal modules, which you have. JDeps, which is a tool that actually got introduced in JDK 8, will also tell you what internal modules you're using in this particular jar. So if you want to see dependencies between modules, you're able to. All right.
That guy is sitting right on from 20.
Will it be Jigsaw 400?
Jigsaw 400. Oh, guys, you're ambitious. Does using module change encapsulation? Your answer is no. The guy in the back? Yeah, so while the discussion about the reflection, to my knowledge, was never concluded, the discussion about encapsulation actually gave one significant change. So public in a module is no longer public to everything else. Exactly so. So what is really public, what is really external is like the guy in the end is saying, you've already actually earned a couple of badges from me, so come and collect later. Great. So we have 3 last questions. So please select 2 people. 2. Who was the second person? All right. So please select your questions and keep in mind that the last question is for our volunteer. So, you were the first, sir.
I see red level, so let's try it. It's
This one? Excellent. So, general availability release date, fairly easy question right now because it was already answered. You may ask your neighbor because I think he knows. Exactly so, 26th of March 2017. Well, it's actually twice pushed back already, so I'm thinking that this time they'll keep it. The third one is the charm, right? At least I hope. So the next person. Performance 300. Oh, you left him the timeline. All right. So JEP 197, segmented code cache, what is it about? It's also fairly easy now because it was mentioned. No, they've included it. All right, so code cache is actually something that you have on your disk which holds your compiled classes. Okay? Those classes may be reused by your JVM, JIT, and Javads. And in some cases, actually previous to Java 9, this was just one region. Okay? So everything went there. So methods went there, classes went there, pretty much everything. Now, if you had profiled code, non-profiled code, that totally didn't matter. So any operation on your code had to actually go through entire cache. Any invalidation, expiration had to, again, deal with entire cache. Now, with segmentation introduced, they're actually finding some performance improvements for dealing with only that code that you're interested in. So, Alexei, thank you for sticking with us so far. Let's see how good you are with timelines. So your question is, first features were announced on. So there was this date when first features for JDK 9 were selected and provided to the general public. Let me tell you, it was year 2014. Yes.
I knew that it was before 2015, so I was half right.
Great to hear it. Now, which month? Try guessing. All right, August. Okay, guys, thank you for playing. You earned a lot of points. I don't have that many hryvnias as you earned the points. So now we'll be going here. Thank you, Alexei. You also earned a badge for pointing out people. I hope it was pleasant. Oh, it wasn't. Damn. I was hoping it would be pleasant for a volunteering, but... So then, for the trivia game which I adopted, I need to thank C. Conrad, and you may find the code on GitHub. My name is Tomasz Borek. I'm coming from Poland. I'm actually helping with Geekon, with Software Craftsmanship Kraków, with Lambda Launch Kraków, and with Polish Java User Group. Currently, I'm working as a freelance consultant, with my largest customer being EPAM Kraków. So I'm hired there to teach Java to new people, total newbies or juniors, and actually bring them up as close to programmers as I can possibly do in just 3 months. Which is fairly nice and gives me really a nice insight into how people learn, so I quite like it. Recently, it was more JavaScript-oriented than Java, though. So first life of Java, and this was already mentioned. First life of Java was actually that, so oak. By the way, the oak on your screen is 700 years old, and it's called Bartek. It's the oldest tree you can find in Poland. So, oak was done by this team, by these people, and they were called the Green Team, okay? They were called the Green Team, and if you ever wondered why we have green threads and native threads, it's because they did the green threads, okay? They are responsible for the stupid name. They're responsible for much more than just the stupid name, but nevertheless, let's proceed. So the Green Project, because the Green Team, yeah, as we know, the Green Team was actually trying to do things for small, smart appliances, okay? So the smart appliances were things like handheld devices, personal digital assistants. I don't know if you've ever seen these little things with a pen, which you could scribble on or even draw or things like that. Hewlett-Packard was quite famous for quite some time with them. So smart appliances were like that, and namely the Green Team was actually after TVs. So they wanted a smart appliance which could actually integrate with your TV at home, change cable for you, change channel, record the program, and do all those things. Some kind of like, I don't know, home entertainment controller. And what they created was called Star 7. And this was demoed at late summer 1992. So back then, Sun Microsystems owned the company, which actually owned the green team. And when they started this project, they thought there will be many different appliances. Let's go with C++ because it's an object-oriented language. Few weeks later, they were like, let's never ever talk about C++ again for this project. So let's do something else. And then Gosling said, I will extend C++. 2 weeks later, there are nice languages out there, C++ is not one of them. So in the end, he decided to actually create an entirely new language, which he called Oak. And they went after doing actually the hardware, the software, the libraries, and the OS. And all of that they managed by the end of summer 1992. This is how their product looked like. This is Star 7 home entertainment controller. And the Duke Mascott came with it. Okay? As was said here very nicely by the guy who also gave enough answers to earn a badge, come later and collect it. Duke was something that their graphic created so that the system would have a central point. It may be somewhat blasphemic, but Duke was kind of the predecessor to Clippy. Yeah. Nevertheless, it was much more fun and less annoying, at least so I heard. So it was kept. So what they were after is actually Internet of Things as we know it now, but back then it hadn't got such a cool name. And they were working at some point at Java-powered CPU. At some point they were working at Java in the fridge. They actually wanted interactivity. And yeah, this is what did not close the deal. Because cable TV companies, they didn't want to give this much power in the hands of the users. Okay? So they were afraid that, for example, it would be fairly easy to program this appliance to avoid the advertisements, okay? Which were a major source of revenue. So pretty much the deal did not work off. Instead, some people actually reconvened and retargeted entire things to the World Wide Web. And this was suddenly backed up by the Netscape, who said, yeah, we will run Java in our browser. And that's how applets came to be. So Second Life was actually something like Java, okay? Because the first Java, really Java 1.0, was named Oak. Java 1.1 was named Java, and then this is actually the Java landscape. If you've never been there, I had never been there, but I'm planning to go because of this landscape. It's fairly nice. So JDK 1.02 was Java, and just a minor info which you all must remember, truly must, it's like most important thing. This is Polish flag, and that's Indonesia flag. Java is from Indonesia. You see the similarity. That's why Polish people like Java so much and they are so good at it. That's precisely why. So, I've actually messed with your head a bit. So, the first Java logo and the first Java promise. Write once, run anywhere. So this was actually fairly cool. To all the people who struggled with C++, that was actually nice that you wrote your code and you ported it to pretty much everywhere where you wanted. And they had a number of promises like that. So it's often said that they were the guys with first GC. That's wrong, Lisp was first. It was said that they were the guys with first virtual machine. That's wrong, actually Smalltalk had it first, but yeah. Then it is often said that they were the one with first memory consistency model built into the language. So Java was the first language which actually said, hey, threads, here is the rule set, and you cannot not abide by it, okay? You must follow those rules. And this is built into the language. And this claim is actually true, okay, compared to those ones. Now, first sandbox, to my knowledge, that's true, but I haven't dug very deep. So first sandbox, which is, they actually created a way for your browser to run remote code on your system and interact with your system. This sandbox turned out to be a whole group of problems, and applets actually were and still are one of the least secure aspects of Java. Yeah? Nevertheless, it can be said that it's because actually having your first sandbox is fairly difficult to do right. They actually went with network byte order because they targeted the network, and with the green threads. And they were laughed about because imagine that you are a programmer and along comes this fancy new language and they are telling you, now you see, switch to my language because then your code will be first interpreted to an intermediate representation called bytecode, which you will have to learn. Then this bytecode will be compiled on a virtual machine, which is a pretend machine on a real machine. And then on this real machine, at the end, you will be running C code. You know, I'm writing in C right now. So you're saying I need to switch, make all these steps and run C. No, thank you. So that was pretty much what people said, and they were quite right. Nevertheless, they went with fast Java changes. And these were the first changes. So for instance, JIT, reflection, only introspection, no changes at runtime. And inner classes were fairly high on the list than inner classes. Third life of Java was when it actually became a playground, okay? So playground came out and it contained a number of really interesting changes. First of all, this is where Java became large. It actually tripled in size. This is where collections were introduced. This is where actually floating point numbers were given its own mechanism. And strict FP keyword. Graphics aside, and JVM got JIT compiler and a Java plugin. And this is also where they started to aim at something as glorious as this, and ended up aiming at something as glorious as this. So this is where J2E was coined by Sun marketing department, and this was the time of utter confusion. Because Java 2 had version 1.3, 1.4, and so on. And you were like, what? And this is also the time where they started showing demos, which scared the hell out of me. I was actually on my, I think, second to last year of studies when Enterprise came out, and they were like, now watch how we do Hello World. And they started writing several hundred lines of XML. I got worried. After 5 to 7 minutes, they were still in the XML and the hello world was nowhere to be seen. So yeah, J2E. If you ever wondered why JBoss is called JBoss, it's because it was called EJBoss, and then Sun said, no, EJB is a trademark, and they dropped the E. Yeah, so standards are rather hard, so Sun didn't go through with it very well. It didn't help that those standards were actually targeting enterprise level systems. So they actually had to integrate with Corba, which is not an easy task, I tell you. So at that point, when you wanted to actually get some funding for work done on desktop and you worked for Sun, that was flat out impossible because of their focus. So some people would say that this ended badly, but some people would say that this actually continued because of Sun's engineering excellence. I'm open to both sides, so let's say either fourth life or just growth. Nevertheless, we spread the wings, or Java spread its wings. And we had two flying releases. One was called Kestrel, the other was called Merlin, both are birds. If you wondered, this is Merlin. That one is Kestrel. I had to add this because I'm not really a bad person, you know. So Kestrel was fairly nice in terms of improvement, okay? If you ever wondered when Permgen came into being, it was for 1.3. And to be honest, back then it was an awesome idea. It actually sped up things very, very nicely. So then we had Merlin, which was the first done by community process and had a lot of APIs, NIO, logging, JDBC, IP version 6, regexes, and the last asset keyword in the language. First community edition, And pretty much with Sun not being so capable in delivering more for quite some time, and with their marketing not being as effective as they hoped, this actually ended with Tiger. So there is really a definitive change when Tiger came out. There is before Tiger and after Tiger, because Tiger was just so large. Majority of interview questions can be still asked about Tiger, and in some cases they are. You had a lot of improvements to the language, and this is what we developers are seeing. This is what we are noticing, okay? Then we get the zombified Java with a number of articles about Java being dead because Mustang and Dolphin had one very, very scary thing. First of all, little changes to actual language on the Mustang side, though they really took care of that. Then, what the best thing about Dolphin was invoke dynamic, okay? Which opened JVM to dynamic languages. Pretty much everything else can be forgotten, and even Sun said so, because most of the changes they planned for Dolphin, they actually moved to JDK 8 and JDK 9. Jigsaw was planned for Dolphin. Lambda was planned for Dolphin. Neither was delivered. Yeah? And 2006 versus 2011. After several years of waiting, we get Coin, which is the least amount of changes we can have. So, Oracle acquired Sun, and Java kept going to the point where some people started writing that if it is dying, it sure is awfully healthy, and we had current life. So, there is 85 JEPs altogether in JDK 9, which is coming fairly quickly. 10 of them are dealing with Unicode, Javadoc, and Nashorn, okay? Nashorn being the JS engine on JVM. 8 deals with security, another 8 are in the performance. Then we have libraries. Out of libraries, we're getting API to work on a stack programmatically, if we so choose, and most internal APIs are going to be encapsulated, meaning you will no longer be able to call them directly from your program. And this 260 is what causes all this debate about unsafe. So unsafe is, as most internal APIs, in Sun packages. Not Java, not Javax, but Sun. Sun.misc to be precise. And it is an internal API that was never meant to be exposed. So Oracle said it's time to deal with the legacy, and they are cleaning up. They're not yet closing unsafe, but they plan on offer equivalents. And there are a number of JEPs which deal with it and actually are preparing groundwork for doing so. Other interesting things is convenience factory needed for collections. So creating collections might be even better now. And 32 in total JEPs which deal with JVM improvements. Same logging for pretty much everything with logs, additional diagnostic commands for your tooling, better tooling, and these JEPs, they don't deal with Jigsaw, okay? Add to that like another 20 or almost 20 JEPs which deal with Jigsaw. Okay? Over here, you're seeing just the JVM changes. So this new release that is coming is mostly JVM-centric. So Jigsaw and modularity, JVM tooling groundwork, for example, will be able to, there will be changes in how strings are handled so that in future, we can actually handle them differently from various dynamic languages. Yeah. APIs, G-Shell, Stack Walking, Process API, performance, encapsulating internal APIs, and security. This is my take on what I see from the JEPs for JDK 9, okay? This is my take on what is Oracle focusing on. And why? First of all, because of kingdom of nouns, okay? Java, for a long time, has been named a kingdom of nouns, and in a very famous rant by this guy, Steve Yeager, he said that in Java, nouns own verbs. Verbs are methods, they are functions, and you can't have a function without a class. The class is a noun. So you always, when you want to use method, you need to have a class, you need to have a noun. So this causes you to program sometimes in an unwieldy manner, because you will need to think about creation of the object while all you want is actually a simple function. So JVM languages, and that is geek on t-shirt, which actually shows you how many are there, okay? So with, I think, 2 or 3 exceptions here, every single UFO you see is corresponding to one JVM language. Okay? We have Haskell on JVM, we have Python on JVM, we have Ruby on JVM, we have JavaScript on JVM, we have pretty much everything on JVM, because JVM as a platform is actually quite cool. Big data. Now, this comes in many flavors, okay? But pretty much there is a differentiation between real big data, like Facebook and Google scale, and the big data that everybody says they are doing. Nevertheless, even the big data that everybody else are saying that they are doing is still quite large compared to other volumes, okay? Finally, we have the cloud. So monolith application will not work in the cloud because they are too costly, okay? You need to have really high maintenance for monolith, and if you're using provided infrastructure, this just won't cut it. Pretty much always, when I'm asked, could you evaluate if this application could be moved to any cloud whatsoever, I'm taking a look at the database first, and then I'm saying, yes, are you willing to pay a lot of money every day? Because with large monoliths, you have large databases. With large databases, you need large, for instance, oracles. With large oracles in the cloud, you're paying large money daily. So dedicated services, little things which are responsible for little things, so microservices, and thus automated connections. Now, if you take a look at what you have here, this actually quite nicely ties with Internet of Things. Okay? We have many more devices producing many more information. There is many more humans connected with many more devices, and now the information we are producing is incredibly larger in volume. So with that, Java needs to change. And current life of Java, release 8, release 9, and incoming release 10 are about that. Okay? So, in my opinion, what is now the driving shift in Java is caused by Internet of Things, mostly. Which is, again, nicely thing, because that's the original aim of Project Oak. So, what can help? In JDK 8, we had Project Lambda, we had streams, and we had date and time API. Date and time API are fairly easy. They wanted to get rid of many mistakes which they did previously. So that was one. But streams and Project Lambda was about functional programming. This was to bring immutability and streams and actually doing streams of functions to operate on your data to Java, so that you can handle big data, so that you can handle cloud. Now, JDK 9, with same things, offers you jigsaw and performance improvements, okay? Those 2 points are about making your apps available easily for the cloud. If you want to use Docker, now you no longer need to download lots of megabytes. Everybody gets it. Heck, there is one company which is, I think, the most slow on this earth currently, and that is IBM. Okay? For IBM releasing something, yeah, I had this nice conversation with my friend who worked at the IBM, and I was like, yeah, but IBM must adjust. And he was like, ho, 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 ho. Let me tell you a story, Tomek, you know. I was working for IBM for this director, and he was fighting with the other director for influence. And along came a client, and the client said, I will give you $3 million if you actually do my project. And the director was like, well, potential $3 million or winning against the other director. Now that's an easy choice. So even IBM, with that story, even they choose to actually reduce their footprint, okay? Their newest profile for their flagship product when it comes to containers, which is the WebSphere server, was actually slimmed down from 2.2 gigabytes to 68 megabytes. So yeah, they really decided that you cannot ship large things to the cloud because the traffic, the network bandwidth, that will not allow it. So Jigsaw and performance improvements are to cut on that, okay? This is something that Oracle needs to do in order to make Java lean again. Gshell is to allow you to prototype, because sometimes when you work with big data, you don't want to start writing another application. You just want to see if your concept will hold. So you need to actually prototype some code quick and dirty style. And Gshell is to help you with that. So this screen was also used on an opening panel, and you can see here that pretty much most of those changes deal with the same things, okay? So var and val and tuples for programming, for functional programming. GC, partial escape analysis, running out of memory with diagnostics, exceptions. This deals with error handling and actually reliability. And if you take a look closer at those post-its, you will notice that pretty much most of them have already been requested for quite some time. And that is because big data and cloud are not anything new. Internet of Things isn't either. So, summarizing and closing, Java went like a river, okay? There was first target was smart appliances, then it was the internet, then we had enterprise, then we had just the standard Java, and finally we're having FP because we're again targeting smart appliances, which now are called Internet of Things. You see where language changes, but there is much more, and this is the case of Jigsaw, okay? Jigsaw has not so many changes in the API, okay? There are like 12 or so, including the Jigsaw itself. So much more changes lies in the groundwork, performance, command line, JVM, the architecture, the tooling. That's where most changes lie. And these are the three game changers for Java at the moment. I'm open for questions, if we have time for any. We don't have time for, so find me after the talk. Thank you very much.